All right, everyone, we have Bubba here. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get to you. All right, first question will go to Scott.
Hey, Bubba, how you doing?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Hey, so obviously you know Lucas well. What did you like about him when he was here?
He's got a strong leg, good elevation on his kicks. He's got good tempo to the ball. I really like the kid. I think he's a really good kid and a really hard worker. So I had him in Indy for a little bit and then brought him here, and I thought he did a nice job.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Dan.
Hey, Bubba. I know you've obviously we ask you about Dustin all the time, but I'm just curious, since he's been here and you've gotten to know him, is there anything you've learned about him that you didn't expect or something that stands out about his personality? He seems pretty even keel.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, man. He's fun to work with. He's a great guy to have in the room, not just for the specialists, but for the position players as well. He's kind of beats to his own drum. And there's times where he'll frustrate me a little bit because he has tendency to be late at times. But no, he's been great. He's been great.
And when you say the thing about position players, I know kickers sometimes position players don't always gravitate to them. So is that sort of unique sometimes?
I think our group, all three of those guys, I think they gel well with our core players. I really do. There's really not a separation between, the specialists and the core group. So our guys have done a good job of, they all get along well and interact well together.
All right, next we'll go to Ashley.
Hey, Bob, again, like Dan said, I know we always ask you about Dustin, but Corey too, just the year that he's had so far, the way he's been punting the ball, just what you've seen from him and getting to know him and how he sort of goes about things week to week.
Corey's done a nice job, I think, especially as of late, of understanding how we want to play the game. And the returners we're going against, we have specific plans for each one. So he's done a good job throughout the week in his preparation, and then the results have shown up in the game. Last week he did a nice job versus the leading returner in the league in Mims, and I thought it elevated the ball well, hit good direction, and gave our defense a good, I guess you would say, drive start.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Mary Kay.
Yeah, Bubba, just wondering, has your group done anything together, just as a unit on this trip? And what do you feel like you and your guys are kind of getting out of being here?
I know that they have had some meetings amongst themselves with just players only as far as the special teams group. I think they'll have another one of those today or tomorrow. As far as them going out, I think they've gone out. I think they went out the first night with their position groups as far as offense, defense, from what I have gathered from a few of the guys. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
I'm just wondering what do you feel like, what do you sense that you guys are kind of getting already out of being here? I know you guys heard from Jerry West yesterday, but what do you sense in terms of bonding for the final push?
Yeah, I think that this is a really good opportunity for us to get away from Cleveland, to come together. I mean, the weather's nice too. I heard it's snowing back home. But be able to just get together, kind of has that Greenbrier feel to it, where you're outside, you're still working, you're working toward a goal. Obviously, we're preparing for a big game against the Rams, but it has brought everybody closer. The players are almost forced to be together even more now, and I think you'll see more of that as the week goes along. But I think that going into this week, especially coming off last week, it's probably good to remove ourselves from being back in Cleveland. It's good to be able to bring everyone together to focus on working toward this next game. So I'm actually glad that we're out here. I think it's been a positive for us. They did a great job setting everything up for us too here.
And I have a quick follow-up, if you don't mind. What about the presence? You know, we saw that Deshaun Watson was over there on the sidelines yesterday, and then you guys have Nick Chubb here with you. What about the presence of guys like that, maybe as a reminder about, you know, how grateful everybody needs to be able to actually be out there playing?
Yeah, you never know when it's going to be, you know, when it could be your last rep. That's why everything is so important. You got to take advantage of every opportunity that you're given. You know, it was unfortunate. We've sustained some injuries, but I think guys have done a good job of rising to the occasion, taking on the challenge of stepping up in their roles. You know, obviously we lose Nick, Jerome Ford and Kareem step up. We lose, you know, Deshaun. All the quarterbacks have, you know, stepped up in their way, shape, or form. And then you have like even guys like, you know, we lose Rodney McLeod to the elbow. Like Rodney is a tremendous communicator, leader on that side of the ball. So it's like, who's going to step up next? Grant Delpit's done a nice job. Anthony Walker's a big communicator on that side of the ball. So that's been important for us to be able to get those contributions and that leadership whenever, you know, we've had some key injuries on our roster. I think those guys have responded well. And it's a testament to honestly, like the players that AB and Kevin have brought in here and how we gel as a team and the communication and, you know, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Kelsey.
Yeah, Bubba, what have you seen from James Prochet in the return game and just kind of how he's adjusted to you guys throughout the season?
Yeah, James, I think from the start, from when he got here, he showed us that, you know, he can be a guy that can be trusted back there. I think that, you know, he's had a handful of plays where he made one back. I think last week we lost the ball a little bit. The ball was a little funky off the foot, so he kind of stayed away. We only gave up a couple yards on the roll there. But for the most part, he's done a nice job of fielding it and getting what we can get and getting a little bit more. He had a big return against Pittsburgh. That gave us good field position. He had a nice return at the end of that Pittsburgh game that set us up to have a shorter field for the offense. He does a good job in his preparation and he studies the opponent pretty well and has a plan even before we come into the meetings and we're installing our punt return. So, you know, we're really excited to work with him.
Thanks.
All right, I think that wraps us up. Thanks, Bubba.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone, we have AVP here. If you guys want to raise your hand with questions, we will call on you. All right, first question will come from Mary Kay.
Hi, Alex. Sorry about that.
Of course.
Yeah, just wondering if you can kind of tell us what it's been like for you to try to get your fourth potential starting quarterback ready to start this football game, and what challenges is that presenting you?
Yeah, you know, it is a challenge. Obviously, fortunate to have Joe, who's an established veteran, has been in multiple systems. That allows him to easily kind of translate his terms into our terms. There are some crossover terms he's using different systems, so that definitely helps.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Scott.
Hey, Alex. Do you know if DTR is going to be able to practice today?
I'm not sure right now. I know he had some testing this morning, still going through the process of the protocol, but I'm not exactly sure that stands this morning. I know he did some testing earlier in the day.
Gotcha. And then back to Joe. Kevin said yesterday was only 24 hours in the day, but from your perspective, how do you go about trying to get him as ready as possible with the short time frame from him being here?
Yeah, a lot of meeting time. He does a great job on his own. Really did a nice job yesterday stepping in the huddle and calling the plays. All the operation that comes in the huddle, he was excellent at. For him, it's just spending time into the playbook. It's all about operation. At the line of scrimmage, getting out of the huddle, getting to the huddle, and then operating. So, again, his experience in multiple systems, getting ready for NFL games, he's done many times. So just a little more emphasis on, understanding exactly what we're going to ask him to do if he's a guy on game day.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Daryl.
Yeah, non-quarterback question for you, Alex. The drop passes in recent weeks seems to be a bit of an abnormality, but has been popping up. What have you guys, or I guess, what can you guys do to rectify that? And what do you think the genesis of that has been? Is it because DTR throws a harder ball, or what do you think there?
Yeah, that's always a fine line, Daryl. As you know, these guys catch the ball for a living. They do a great job at doing it. It just so happens that 2 weeks in a row, we put a few on the ground that were catchable. Obviously we'll emphasize that in the week. Is it concentration? Is it, completing the eyes on the ball the whole time through the catch? I think a couple times we may have taken our eyes off the ball to go look for yak yards after the catch. So just letting these guys know, hey, you guys catch the ball for a living. You're going to catch it again. This is we're just going through a little drop period here. If you overstress it, then oftentimes guys will start to, get something in their head that they're dropping the ball. So just put the emphasis on the fundamentals. That's the key.
And without giving any trade secrets away here, as far as game plan and things like that, when you're dealing with these different quarterbacks and getting them up to speed, in this case, obviously, Joe, how dramatic is the change? Like, do route with the offense because of his style of play? Do route trees change? I know you mentioned, terminology is basically the same, but just what adjustments, if you can explain, have to take place when you're having to go from quarterback to quarterback?
Sure. Generally route depths don't change. The names of the routes will change. There's standard route trees across the league that everybody runs. So those will be, similar. There are some nuances to some of the routes that we run. And I think the biggest thing for a new quarterback coming into any place is just having a feel for how each receiver runs each route differently. Some guys might not run. You might have the same route. You might get 3 different feels, as a quarterback based on the individual that's running that route. That's the biggest adjustment, is just getting a feel for how the guys run their routes.
All right, next we'll go to Chris.
Hey, Alex, I was just wondering how beneficial was it for Joe to be on the sidelines last Sunday in Denver and just sort of see how you guys operate within the context of an actual Sunday game compared to what you can do the walkthroughs and practice and everything, but just being there, how much is that a benefit for him?
I think it's huge, really, just to get a game under his belt where he had the earpiece in on the sideline. He was listening to the communication, from Kevin to the QBs, just how Kevin talks to those guys, how the play calls come in, our sideline mechanics after each series of what we have to get done before the next drive, all that, just getting a dry run under his belt will be beneficial.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Kelsey.
Hey, Alex, from going back to Joe for a second about on him practicing yesterday, what was it like to just see him in that huddle, the communication that we've talked about with these guys between being such a big part of it and his communication style in that first practice, I guess?
Yeah, no, it's very impressive. Again, he's a guy that's done it before. He's, his size and stature, he demands attention in the huddle. His play calling is clear and crisp, and I think the guys appreciated that.
And as you go through this week, obviously knowing what he's done in the league over his career, but seeing him truly just go through practice, getting those reps, how helpful is that just to get him acclimated and see what he can bring to the table?
Oh, it's huge, and we're still working through all of that. As the week goes on, what routes do you like? How do you feel about, certain personnels? A lot of give and take, a lot of communication between us and the quarterback room. And those things will continue to work through the week. But as a passer, he is exactly that. He's a pure passer, makes all the throws, has the arm strength to push the ball down the field, and is accurate at all levels.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Dan.
Hey, Alex, I got a couple running back questions for you. First, Jerome Ford. It seems like he's been running really well the last couple of weeks. How have you seen him kind of grow since he's taken over that job?
Yeah, he's definitely has grown up. I'm really proud of his efforts, his ability to run the ball. He's popped some big runs for us, and I think he had 3 last week over 10 yards, which was great. His approach is the same every day. I think he's got great leadership in the room with Stump. Other great pros in there. Nick Chubb's in the room, so he knows how to prepare and what it's going to take on game day. But really proud of his work so far.
And then with Kareem Hunt, we're seeing him jump over people, hurdle over people. Having him back in that room, what has that brought for you guys? What kind of energy has that brought?
Yeah, a lot of energy. Game day, especially. He runs with reckless abandon. He's very physical and very violent with his run style, and that's been key for us, especially in some short yardage situations. But always feel confident we give Kareem the ball, he's going to get us to tough yards.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Ashley.
Hey, Alex, just want to ask about Amari. I mean, I know obviously he's been fighting through this injury after Sunday, but you guys obviously saw him fight through a pretty significant injury last year. Just like his toughness as a receiver and what you've seen from him, getting to know him over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Gameday Amari, man, is special. He fights through everything to get there. He'll do that again this week, it looks like. Then on game day, he lights up. So toughness is an area that you don't have to worry about with Amari. He's gonna be there if he can. And on game day, he's gonna be his best self.
And then just with the younger guys, even when those other receivers in that room talk about him, it's like unsurprisingly they can't speak highly enough about him. Just what makes those guys so receptive to getting advice from him and things like that?
I think the biggest thing is his authenticity. He is a real dude, and those guys, they see success that he's had through hard work. He's a very selfless receiver, which is, in today's game is great to have a guy like that. And he sets a great example, his work ethic, and then his ability to make plays on game day. So I'm sure those guys all look up to him, as do I.
All right, next we'll go to Tony.
Hi, Alex. 2 questions about Flacco. Number 1, how would you describe his arm strength right now at the age of 38? And is that allowing a lift to the guys out there? Because you don't have the other 2 guys just don't have that kind of an arm.
Yeah, well, he's an elite arm. There's no question. If you put it in a scale of 1 to 5, I'd say he's a 5. His ball flight, his velocity on the ball, at every level of the field is very impressive. But guys got excited. He threw some balls against the scout team last week, and the guys in the back were kind of fired up.
The other thing about Flacco is he's not the most mobile guy, and yet his whole career, his sack totals have been relatively low. How does he do it?
I think as the mentality of playing on time, working through progressions quickly, taking checkdowns to areas like that, those are things that'll help him eliminate or avoid sacks. So I think he understands that about himself. He's really self-aware of who he is as a player through our conversations this week. But his decision-making and his the ability to get the ball out of his hands will help.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Scott.
Hey, Alex, what improvement did you see from DTR before he had to leave the game on Sunday?
Oh, man. I think he's making strides. He's gotten better each time he's been out. It was unfortunate. I thought we were in a good place there in Denver. We were starting to gain a little momentum. That was unfortunate, but I'm really proud of his play style. He made some plays, with his legs. He made some plays with his arm. Showed some toughness again. Just real happy with his development at this point.
And then with Aaron Donald, do you expect him to be against Joel mostly in early downs and just that matchup specifically, and then how they move Aaron around?
Yeah, obviously a generational player. When you watch the tape and you're looking at everything and as a whole, you tend to focus on him a lot. So he's going to command attention from us. He's going to be on both guards. Heck, he'll be out on the edges. They move him around based on where they think he can get a matchup. We're going to have to be very diligent with our understanding of where he is and how it affects everything with us. Excited to see our guards when they do get a chance to block them. I think our guards are really good players for us, so that matchup's going to be fun to watch.
Thanks.
All right, and last one from Mary Kay.
Yeah, Alex, when Joe first talked to us last week, he said, I can still play and I have stuff left in the tank. So after you've watched him now practice for a little bit more than a week, just wondering, what's your take on that?
Yeah, again, Mary Kay, I think he's very self-aware, and I think he's correct. Yeah, I think there's still a lot left in that tank. Again, yesterday would solidify that for me, just watching him, the accuracy and the velocity, the footwork, and everything that he showed yesterday.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.